Preparing, setting up. Done.
Hi there, I'm Marte Aboagye, and I'm the head of community engagement at Springtide Research Institute. And I'm so excited today to be talking to my friend and colleague.
I'm Dr. Angela Patterson, and I'm head writer and editor at Springtide. And Marte and I work very closely on many, many things, including some of the things that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, we're so excited to have this quick live conversation because we're announcing a really exciting that's going to be spread over several years. So we want to share some really important data findings that we've already uncovered in the last few years that sets us up to embark on this next research project. And before we even get into that, today, March 22nd, is actually the start of Ramadan. So to any of our Muslim friends, we just want to wish you a happy Ramadan Mubarak. And as you begin this season of fasting and religious devotion, know that your journey is so important to what we're always exploring with Springtide as we look at the ways that youth and young adults are looking to find meaning and community and identity and purpose. These are some of the driving questions that we're always exploring that we want to talk a little bit about more today.
Marte, it's funny that you bring up Ramadan and that we're doing this at the beginning of Ramadan, because one of the main things that you and I talk about and our colleagues talk about all the time is how there's kind of this pervasive narrative that young people aren't interested in religion or spirituality. And we know that there's hundreds of thousands of young people around the globe today celebrating or embarking on Ramadan, this journey. So we know that this is absolutely happening. In fact, our data shows it. And if you'll show this graphic that we have, I'll show you exactly what that stat is. But what's so interesting is we have this narrative, but yet every time we ask young people about their religious and or spiritual identity, this is how they identify themselves. 77% of Gen Zers still consider themselves spiritual. 68% maintain that they're religious. And these numbers have actually held steady since Springtide's inception. So a mere 4 years, right? Not a long time when we talk about data, but long enough to know that a majority of young people really do feel this way, and they identify as that. This is part of their overall identity. So we keep asking the questions about, okay, if this is how young people are identifying, then how can we better connect with them, both as adults who serve them, as faith leaders, as adults who work with young people closely? That's one of the main questions that we're always seeking to answer.
Yeah, I think this finding is major because you're right. There's this perception of like every younger generation cares less and less about religion. They're less, interested in having a spiritual life. And this is just false when you see these numbers. And this is how young people are self-identifying, self-reporting, and we want to listen to that. Springtide is committed to really considering what young people are saying themselves instead of what other people are assuming about them, what sort of stereotypes are being placed upon Gen Z. And so this project that we're starting is going to uncover even more of that understanding. It's going to dig into the ways that Gen Z is flourishing in different spiritual and religious communities. And what are those communities? What are those leaders doing to set up successful models? We want to learn about what are those successful models that are being taken with a lot of attention, with a lot of intentionality, and how can more and more communities and more faith leaders and spiritual centers of all different religious ideologies, how can they dig into making those models effective for the young people in their own settings? So a bit more about that before we dig into more data. Do you want to preview some more of this project?
Well, so I was actually going to ask you, because the irony here is that you actually run one of these effective programs. So many people may not know who are watching this. Marte heads up our Springtide Ambassadors program, which is a 2-year commitment, correct? For young,
just shy of 2 years, 15
just shy of
months.
2 years.
Yeah.
It's an incredible program, and we lean on them greatly for concepts and for input, because these are the young people that we are writing about, that we're talking to, that we want to understand their lived experience. So I was wondering if you had a story about helping young people to connect, where you've seen SAP members say, wait, hey, actually, this is not the narrative. It's more like this. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I'd love to share that. So yes, we call our Springtide Ambassadors program SAP for short, SAP. And we have another group that just started for 2023, another group of 20 young people. And our previous cohort of 20 people is just finishing this month. So there's a nice little overlap. So from the about 40 young people I'm currently in conversation with that are spread across the country between ages 13 and 25, the exact age demographic that we researched, I hear stories over and over again at each of our monthly meetings about the ways that the adults in their lives, the mentoring figures, the faith leaders, the educators, the coaches, sometimes the parents, the aunts, the uncles, so many different figures that a young person will name as being pivotal in their life. And that's just another, I think, stereotype that's placed on young people, specifically on Gen Z, is that they don't care about listening to or having a connection with some of the adult leaders in their life. But we've actually heard our research findings from the last year, where we looked at mental health and the ways that young people were flourishing. The young people who were finding a sense of meaning and purpose in their life attributed that to the ways that trusted adults were connected to them, that they showed up for them. 41% of young people said that they trust those caring adults in their lives to help them find meaning and purpose. So it's not just, yeah, I have an adult in my life. It's that those adults are helping conversations and questions as young people are in such an important stage of life of figuring out a lot of who they are, what they care about in the world, what they want to pursue. And that sense of meaning and purpose, we know, is massive when it comes to the flourishing experiences for mental well-being. And so adults, you matter. You really have an impact. But yes, our SAP members, those Springtide Ambassadors, they really point out every meeting. We have different conversations where someone will say, hey, I just really want to describe this situation I had with a teacher this week who really knew me and knew to check in on me when I really wasn't doing well. And I trusted them to know that I could be authentic. They've already set a stage where I felt like, yeah, I can be honest about what's going on in my life. And those are the people who are showing up day in and day out that we want our research to help bolster and support, because you're doing the work to engage the youth in your own communities, the young adults in your own settings. And we want our findings to help you do that even better, to do that in a fuller way, to show that your caring is meeting real needs with the young people in your own classrooms, in your own churches, in your own synagogues and mosques and temples, and in your own after school programs, wherever you might find yourself.
Absolutely. I think that's why we're doubling down on that very thing, because even in all of our research, we find that that's really the crux of it. What about these connections and relationships help young people to flourish most? And they come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors, so to speak. And so we want to understand more about what that looks like. And so this new project that we have, thanks to the support of a generous grant, is I think it's a 2 or 3 year project.
3. Yeah.
It's 3 that we're going to be able to take a real deep look about what's working for the flourishing of young people. And that includes engagement, activity, belief, all of the things that you can wrap up into that. In this 3-year span, we're talking to leaders who engage regularly with young people to understand more about the landscape of working with young people, seeing what's working for them and where the gaps are. And then we're going to turn around and talk to the young people themselves and understand, when you're engaging with an organization, what really works for you and what doesn't, and what's a detractor and what draws you in. We're going to ask all of those questions. And then we're going to continue through a series of exploration based on what we find there, to really understand, especially in the American context, what is really working for young people and how we can best support them in all of their flourishing, religious, spiritual, and otherwise. We're very excited about this project because this is something we feel very passionate about. And as you see on the QR code here on the screen, you can scan that, see more about what's going on and what we're doing. But I think we're going to come up with some really great insights that not only are going to help give voice to the lived experience of young people, but will also help the adults who are supporting them and are caring for them to care better.
Yes, we really want to shout out our gratitude to the Lilly Endowment, who has been so generous to sponsor this project, to enable us to do this 3-year study, where, just as Angela alluded, we're going to be talking to not just young people, which is what we love doing, what we're always going to be doing as a research institute, but we're also going to say, hey, leaders that are showing up, that are wanting to meet young people where they're at, what are you doing? And so these 2 different approaches will encompass in-person visits. We're excited to be able to travel, to get to see in person some of these programs that are so effective, some of these ways of engaging Gen Z that are having a lot of success. And we'll do all of our different survey methods as well when we talk to youth, as well as those adult leaders. And we are going to publish along the way. So you don't have to wait 3 years. Certainly there'll be a lot to capstone at the end, but there'll be different findings we'll be unveiling throughout the 3 years to make sure that as we learn new things, we're putting it into your hands as well. So if you want to make sure you're signed up from the onset to be getting all of this information as it's, yes, sign up with this QR code. You can scan it on your screen and you'll be taken to a really easy form. It's just like name and your email address. I don't even think there's more fields than that, but that will get you on our list so that you are the first to receive these findings as they come to be in our different publications. You can already read more about this on our website. So yes, when you follow that QR code, you can read more about what we're embarking on with the Lilly Endowment sponsored project. We really want to make sure that our research is always highly actionable. So we're never going to just say, oh, these are the statistics. We always are turning it around into ways that you can apply it in your own settings. So we want to be in conversation with you. Please be in touch with us in that way.
Absolutely. Marta, I'm excited about this. I think we've laid a good foundation, and I'm definitely looking forward to what's to come.
Me too. It's great talking with you, Angela.
Yes.
The ways that you make Springtide's findings accessible as our head writer, and know that in my area of community engagement, that we really want to be involved in so many different communities. So yeah, reach out, be in touch, and know that there's ton more to come with this project, exploring what's working to engage Gen Z.